All right, let's talk about Gradle. If you're a developer, especially in the Java or Android world, you've probably bumped into this name. But what is it really? And why does it matter so much? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this super powerful tool and see how it completely changes the game for building software. So picture this. You start a new project. At first, everything's easy. Compiling your code is just one simple command. But then, your project starts to grow. You add more files, more libraries, more features, and suddenly that one little command starts to get longer and longer and a whole lot more complicated. Sound familiar? And look, this isn't just a theory. This comment from a developer over on Reddit, it just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures that early stage where you find one thing that works and you just stick with it. It gets the job done, sure, but you know deep down it's inefficient and it's not going to last. And that right there, that brings us to the real problem we're trying to solve. We call it the manual build headache. That simple command that used to be your best friend quickly turns into a major source of frustration and, honestly, a huge waste of time. So let's really break down why this is such a pain. You're constantly wrestling with these ridiculously long commands, trying to remember the exact class path for every single library. You're wasting precious time recompiling files that haven't even changed. And then you have to figure out a whole separate process for running tests or packaging your app into a distributable file. Every step is tedious, it's super easy to mess up, and maybe worst of all, the whole process isn't easily repeatable for anyone else on your team. So how do we get out of this mess? How do we escape the chaos? Well, this is where our hero enters the story, the build automation tool. A build automation tool is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's a special piece of software that's designed to take all of those painful manual steps, the compiling, the testing, the packaging, and just automates them. It turns that messy, multi-step, error-prone process into a single, clean, reliable command. And for this explainer, our build tool of choice is Gradle. It's a modern, powerful, and incredibly flexible tool that's become the standard for millions of developers, especially if you're building anything that runs on the Java virtual machine. Okay, so you might be thinking, wait, I've heard of other tools, like Apache Maven, right? And you're absolutely right. There are other options. So why have so many massive projects, including pretty much the entire Android ecosystem, decided to bet on Gradle? Let's find out. Now this right here, this really gets to the heart of it. It's a totally different philosophy. Maven uses XML for its configuration files. And if you've ever seen a big Maven file, you know it can get, well, huge and really rigid. Gradle, on the other hand, uses actual code, either Kotlin or Groovy. This makes its build scripts way cleaner, easier to read, and just infinitely more powerful and flexible. But honestly, the real killer feature, the showstopper, it's performance. Gradle is just built for speed. It has a few superpowers. Incremental builds mean it's smart enough to not redo work that's already done. The build cache is amazing. It can literally reuse parts of a build from your teammate's computer. And the Gradle daemon is this little background process that keeps everything ready to go, nice and hot in memory. The result? Gradle is often at least twice as fast as Maven. And for really big projects, it can be up to 100 times faster. Just think about that. Okay, so we know it's fast and flexible, but how does it actually work? What are the moving parts? The easiest way to wrap your head around it is to think about your build like you're following a recipe to bake a cake. First step, you've got the build script. This is your recipe card. Simple as that. It's a file, usually called build.gradle.kts, and it's where you write down all the instructions for Gradle. It's your list of ingredients, we call those dependencies, and all the steps to follow to get to the finished product. Next, you have plugins. Think of these like your fancy kitchen gadgets, your power-ups. Instead of writing out instructions from scratch for how to compile Java code, you just apply the Java plugin, and boom, instantly your project knows how to compile, test, and package a Java application. It's a massive time saver. The individual steps in your recipe, we call those tasks. A task is just one single piece of work, like compile Java or run tests. And what's really cool is you can just tell Gradle, hey, run the test task. And it's smart enough to know, oh, okay, but before I can test anything, I obviously have to compile the code first. It figures out the whole order of operations for you. And finally, this is just brilliant. It's called the Gradle Wrapper. Think of it as a universal key for your project's recipe. It's this tiny little script you include with your code. Now, anyone on your team on any machine can run the build using this script, and it will automatically download and use the exact version of Gradle your project needs. No more, well, it works on my machine problems. It's amazing. So let's zoom out for a second. When you put all of these pieces together, the script, the plugins, the tasks, and that awesome wrapper, what you end up with is a truly supercharged build. And really, it all boils down to this: less time building, more time creating. Gradle automates all the boring, repetitive, and error-prone parts of development. It frees you from that manual build headache, giving you back precious time and mental energy to focus on what you actually love doing: solving problems and creating amazing software.
So I'll just leave you with this thought. Imagine all those tedious build commands you've ever had to type. Now imagine they're just gone, replaced by one simple, fast, and reliable command. What new possibilities does that unlock? What could you build with all that extra time?